So Disney Plus Day happened, and there was a whole lot of stuff. Announcements, projects, etc. All these on screen now. Still going. Jesus, that's a lot. Okay, I'm not talking about all of these. I'm not even talking about some of these, just one for now, at least. The most unique announcement here, X-Men 97. Because Marvel recently announced that they're reviving the classic 90s X-Men cartoon. And this is quite interesting for anyone remotely interested in Marvel animation, because it suggests something of a paradigm shift. It means a lot of things that didn't look particularly possible, even recently, are now appearing as genuine things that could happen. The first thing I should make clear is this isn't a video on the 90s series, not exactly. So if that's what you're looking for, better keep on stepping, fella. Maybe I'll make one or two like that in the future, let me know if you'd be interested, but for now, I'm more interested in this announcement, and the existence of a revival conceptually, rather than the actual thing being revived. Because recently there haven't been many brilliant Marvel animated projects. Look, if you like Avengers Assemble or the newer Spider-Man shows, more power to you. I'm not trying to take that away from anyone. All I'm saying is that most people would agree it hasn't exactly been a golden age. And that might be in part due to my next point, because for the past 10 years or so, the general strategy seems to have been to produce content broadly similar visually and character-wise to the MCU, in a strategy of cross-media synergy. And it's been seeming like that general dynamic would only be growing in the future, as in 2019, Marvel Animation came under the control of Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, i.e. the MCU people. Add to this the recent news that Marvel Studios plans to put out a new animated wing of content, like What If, and until very recently the future of Marvel Animation looked pretty MCU adjacent. Until now. Because yes, we did get a bunch of MCU animation announced, like the Spider-Man Freshman Year project and Baby Groot, as well as that rumoured Wakanda series. But we also got that X-Men 97 news, that they're reviving a series which has been dead for 24 years. Some people have made the argument that this is likely to refresh the minds of the viewing public as to who the X-Men are, and maybe that's partially the case. But we have had a decade of blockbuster movies with them as well, so I don't think this can be the sole factor. I know ours is a forgetful culture, but come on, people know who the X-Men are. So I'm going to propose an alternate view, one that I think is just as reasonable. Because I think this decision is linked to the MCU, albeit in a different way. If we look at the MCU post-Endgame, after the Infinity Saga, we see, I think, a branching off from the strict world and continuity we had seen previously. This is visible in the way shows like Loki and What If open up the multiverse at different timelines, allowing alternate versions of MCU characters to appear. It seems we'll see a similar dynamic at play in Spider-Man No Way Home and the upcoming Doctor Strange sequel. We also see alternate continuities peeking in on a more meta level in things like casting. Look at Evan Peters' turn as Quasi-Quicksilver in WandaVision, or the rumours of the appearances of Charlie Cox's Daredevil and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin from the dubiously connected Netflix world. The MCU has told the story it set out to tell. It's telling more now, and I'm excited for them, but it's interesting to see that post-Infinity Saga, their hermetically sealed continuity, rigid canon, they seem to be opening more and more. Just look at the eventual third Deadpool movie. It's going to be in the MCU, but it's going to include the same character as the first two. And I think we should maybe view X-Men 97 in this context. That finally Marvel Studios has so established its world that the sort of brand cohesion we'd seen previously isn't really necessary anymore. That they now trust the viewers to understand that different versions of heroes, different continuities can exist. So they can revive an old X-Men series, an old X-Men world that isn't connected to the MCU, and it's fine now. The Marvel Studios brand has loosened to the point where it can tolerate this, reviving much-loved shows that exist separately from the movies and from multiverse content like What If. And this is only a good thing for the future of Marvel animation. In terms of new shows, they're not likely to be plagued by the cohesion mandate that existed 10 years ago. Once again, Marvel animation can be its own thing. And in terms of old shows, why would Marvel stop with X-Men 97? Especially if people like it. It's not like they'll carry it on for the next 5 years or so, and it seems an awfully odd decision to revive one particular old show for probably a season or two in amidst a world of MCU animation and then just stop. This channel has in the past looked at and promoted the #SaveTheYostverse movement, which has been trying to get shows like Wolverine and the X-Men, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Spectacular Spider-Man back on the air, and it's always seemed quite unlikely. But now, I genuinely think these shows may have a future on Disney+, if we keep the pressure up, that is. And it's all thanks to the announcement of X-Men 97, as well as the general trends of the MCU's Phase 4 so far. But don't just view X-Men 97 as a means to our end, because I'm sure it's going to be exciting enough to enjoy and watch on its own terms. So I'm looking forward to catching it when it eventually drops, and I'll probably make more content on it at that point. And not just because the more successful 97 is, the more likely other revivals are. No, instead because it's probably going to be great. Oh, and one last thing. Don't be that guy who says, "Disney's ruining my childhood. They're gonna make the X-Men woke." Just don't be that guy. Read about the history of the X-Men. They've always been woke. That's sort of the point of them. But yeah, that's this video. Let me know below which announcements you're most hyped for after Disney Plus Day, and if you want me to talk about any of them. But until then, ciao.